Different link, right?
Good.
I think so.
Yes, it will be a different link for the YouTube. We're live.
We are so back, baby.
Back like we never left.
Oh yeah. Feels like 5 minutes ago. So, as we were saying, um, yeah, last year was a really hard year personally for me. It started out 2024. I had to put my 7-year-old black cat down, and that was terrible. If you're a pet owner, it's just the worst, one of the worst things you ever have to do. Hard choice. And after that, I lost my grandfather just shy of his 90th birthday. And then I lost my dad at the age of 60, he was. And that was in February. So it's been quite a year, quite a whirlwind for me. So much tragedy so fast. So it was definitely tough. But I lifted myself up and I tried to do what I could creatively. And I make music. I dive into Tolkien, and Tolkien has taught me so much. But to tie this to this theme, it made me think of Tolkien's famous interview with Death. You know, the Death interview, where he quotes Simone de Beauvoir: "There's no such thing as a natural death. Nothing happens to a man that is ever natural. Since his presence calls the world into question, all men must die, but for every man, his death is an accident, and if he knows it and consents to it, an unjustifiable violation." And those two words right at the end, that really hit home for me. You know, it's always too soon. It's always a surprise. It's always horrific. Death is not just a part of life, it's a consequence of existing. And I'm still having a pretty hard time navigating the grief, but to grieve so great is to love so great. So I was blessed. My father accepted me for everything that I was. So I'm happy. All my ups and downs, when I'm at my lowest and on my own, you know, I do my music thing. I get onto Token Talk. I look on Instagram. I see your faces, and, you know, it gets me through. So I appreciate it. And when it comes to Tolkien's work specifically, Frodo Baggins comes to my mind, and he's gotten me through a lot. Two things stick out: the burden and the decision. So the burden, I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened. It speaks for itself. The decision, I cannot keep the ring and stay here. I ought to leave Bag End, leave the Shire, and leave everything and go away. But I feel very small and very uprooted and, well, desperate. And that's why I did this. That's why I wanted to reach out to you guys to help me out, because I do feel very uprooted and small and desperate. And I appreciate y'all being here for me, truly. Um, as far as passages go, I have a little reading from our favorite books. Alas, there are some wounds that cannot be wholly cured, said Gandalf. I fear it may be so with mine, said Frodo. There is no real going back. Though I may come to the Shire, it will not seem the same, for I shall not be the same. I am wounded with knife, sting, and tooth, and a long burden. Where shall I find rest? And the part that gets me is that Gandalf did not answer. Gandalf, in all his wisdom, has nothing to say, and sometimes there is nothing to say. You know, my grief has taught me, though, to look at life in a different light. Look at the bigger picture, not just the bright, colorful strokes when it's good, but the beauty in the strokes of the black and the gray and the muted sorrow. If I hadn't lost my dad, I wouldn't love him as much as I do right here, right now. Why can't we love those more after they're gone? You know, there'll be guilt, but there'll always remain love. There'll be anger, but beneath it all, there's love. So that's my little spiel on
Very
this.
well said. Very well
Thank
Very
you.
well
said.
said, man.
Thank you guys. I
I think
truly appreciate it.
I think it's interesting, like that whole kind of thing where Gandalf doesn't have an answer because, it, what could you really say
Mm-hmm.
in that way? Everybody has their own kind of reactions to grief and loss, and sometimes people won't see the point of a certain answer or
Mm.
won't appreciate that answer in that time. And I think just the silence is, it's profound in that way.
Once I can't, I wish I could remember what it was from, but I can't. But there was a line in it where someone said, "Words are poor balm for a wounded heart," and that always stuck with me because I know I struggle with like what to say to people when they're going through something because I know that if I was in that position, there are no words that can really, do anything. Um, and so yeah, that line really resonated with me. I wish I could remember what it was from. But yeah, that's made me think of when you said about Gandalf then. Even Gandalf with, his words and his comfort that he offers all throughout the book, there comes a point where even he knows that, there's nothing that you can say that is going to really be able to help someone.
Um, I think back to Elrond saying, we're all bound by this common doom, and I'm sure everybody here has lost somebody, and bless you if you haven't, because it sucks. But I lost both my parents, and thankfully for me, I had you guys to help me with my mom. You guys were all checking up on me and everything like that. And I lost my father in 2010. That was like the worst thing ever. Like, you know what I mean? So, um, you know, the commonality of just having somebody share that experience with you is like I know what you're going through, and sometimes you don't have to have words to express uh everything. One thing I learned, that like the most important thing I learned about losing somebody, is everybody doesn't deal with everything the same. Everybody doesn't deal with grief the same, and that's something I really struggled with a long time ago when I first lost somebody who was close to me. When my best friend got killed in a car accident, and uh, we went to the funeral, and then one of my other best friends didn't come. We were so angry at him. We were so angry at him, and then finally somebody had to sit us down and explain that some people can't take it. So it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you feel. They can't even come here. They're so hurt. And so, if you can, you will. If you can offer those words, do that. That's what you do. Somebody else might just be there for you. My best friend, Mike, when my dad passed away, didn't do anything. He was just there, and it made me feel much better than somebody offering condolences. He just made me feel normal, and it made me feel better. So, try not to take any offense to anybody, offering or not offering, or just whatever works for you. Just just bathe in that, and be comforted, and always honor the person that you're mourning, and honor them and cherish them, their memory in the good times. That always helps and makes you feel better.
Heard something. It was like, take the parts to keep them alive. You want to be the person. Be what was it? Be the kind of person who they were when they were here. Keep them alive. Honor their memory. Be the best parts of that person. Yeah, it's beautiful. So I have an order. I guess let's move on to our next speaker, Mr. Dave. Would you like to share your experience with us?
Yeah, I think I'm the most recent aggrieved. My father died in August, and the Tolkien has always been a comfort for me. At first, it was really hard to kind of even go back to reading Tolkien, listening to Tolkien. It's not, because I had that connection with my father, but it was just the world does seem like it shifts from, for our audience, The Hobbit and the happiness, the colorfulness, the beauty of it all, to the children of Húrin, where there's no color, there's no Lilith, there's no laughter, um, for a while. And, as I read the Legendarium more and more, it becomes like, at what is this, at this fifth month, I think now, it becomes clear that grief, pity, and empathy are the key instruments in Ero Luvatar's symphony of eucatastrophe. I was thinking about this, what I was going to do for this, because I was like, the whole Haldir quote, that's the most famous quote about grief, and Tolkien is, so filled with grief in a lot of his things, more than I think people talk about, really. But it made me think about the beginning of Baron and Luthien, and another one of our mutual friends, that German Tolkien guy, kind of talked about this in one of his videos the other day. Baron and Luthien starts with Gorlim, a character that can easily be seen as one of the ultimate traitors in the Legendarium to me. or not to me, but in the Legend Army as a whole. But to me, his grief leads to the greatest love and victory in Arda. Gorlim is lured to, for those of you who don't know, Gorlim is lured to his house in his grief at the possible loss of his beloved wife, and thus is ensnared and tortured by Sauron, leading to the death of Barahir, Baron's father. But not only does it lead both of them to their deaths, but without the betrayal of Barahir or Gorlim, how could we have had Beren and Luthien? How could we have? How could they have stolen a Silmaril from Morgoth's crown? Without them, how could we have had Elendil? Without Gorlim's love and grief, how could Morgoth have been defeated? Throughout the Legendarium as a whole, we see grief as a motivator for the actions of these characters. And just like in life, it brings about even more despair. But as Tolkien knew, with the loss of his parents, his best friends in the TCBS, and the soldiers around him, it's up to us to turn our negative grief into positive grief, just like Ryan was saying. We have to provide that empty vessel of love that we no longer have with even more joy, wonder, and appreciation for the world around us. We're all here together today because of Tolkien's grief. Look at the amazing thing that he was able to create out of that. It's something that gives me hope in this kind of dark period of my life going into the holidays and stuff, which, is a thing that Tolkien is very associated with as well. So it's giving me that Estelle, that high hope, despite, what we do, yes, things turn to negative, but, death is seen as a negative, grief is seen as a negative, but who knows what the consequences of our actions in that grief could lead to.
I connected with my father too, in Tolkien. I'm sure many of us connected with our dads through Tolkien, and he was the one who first showed me, the animated films. Traumatized me, of course, as a child, but we got through it. We got through it, and thank you for sharing your vulnerability, Dave. What lifts you up? What about Tolkien lifts you up?
It's that high hope. It's that Estelle. It's that, despite how horrible things can be, despite losing your sister whose name literally means life, laughter, despite losing everything, there is still something there that will turn the tide from evil to good, from despair into happiness.
Mm.
And it's this thing kind of, I think a lot of people just associate the Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's Legend Army as a whole as, the hobbits, and kind of forget all of that grittiness or forget that kind of um, that veil of sadness that we also perceive in our daily lives. But behind that veil, I mean, it's just a veil. So there is things in our lives. There are things that are tangible, physical. There's people that we love. If we, it's the whole quote that, I think Bladorthan had this thing a couple months ago. It's the most Tolkienian quote. It's the quote. I never get it right at the top of my head, but it's the quote with Thorin and Bilbo. If we valued more good food and people than gold, I think the world would be a better place, and we have the opportunity to make it so by looking at what Tolkien has provided us with his positive grief.
Mm.
I love that you drew upon Gorlin as an example, and I think I find it really like interesting because we kind of understand that loss and that longing for your loved one, and I don't know anyone that blames Gorlin. I don't I've never blamed Gorlin. I never felt like he was a bad guy. I got it immediately. Whereas somebody like Megalyn is like all selfishness in a different type of way. It's in an evil way. This is just pure love. He didn't. That was definitely not his thought process. To hey, I'm going to betray my people. He's so longing for his actual love that he really did. There's nothing there but love. He loves her so much that that betrayal was it's a betrayal nonetheless, but it's still from just the deepest love. Whereas from selfishness and want is Mylan's freaking betrayal, and so it's different. I've never looked at him like vile. So I get it, and I think we understand, and that's one of the things where you can learn, and you can learn that good things can happen from it, unfortunately, but you know things sometimes they happen for a reason.
Mm, very true. Miss Kaya.
Not to make light of anything, but I just found it interesting that you're talking about Gorliam while you've got Sauron behind you.
Well, please make light. We
Aaron is
can't. We
always
can't
going to
be
be
too
my
dark.
boy. I don't care. He can do no wrong in my
Oh
eyes.
yeah,
What
what
are you
happened
talking
to
about?
Gorliam was so bad. There's the guy that did it.
He didn't. He didn't lie to that man. He told him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
He reunited him with Valinor. So Sauron is actually the hero.
Diabolical.
He is the hero. He did what he said he was going to do. I'm going to reunite you with your wife. So
Somebody
Gorliam,
mute knew better.
Hot take. I love it.
I mean,
I
not
love it.
wrong.
Miss
I'm joking.
Kaya.
Oh God.
First of all, I love your new hair.
Thank you.
So
Worked very hard
amazing.
on it. Got blue all
Yes.
over my shower.
Oh, I do see the blue. Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
there's like blue and green in it. It was supposed to be black,
Oh,
but here
well,
we are.
I dig it.
Thanks.
I dig it.
Very
Would you,
nice.
my dear, like to share your experience with us?
Oh God, yeah. After following him, sure. I did not prepare something so deep. I was just gonna wing it.
Wing it, please.
Okay. So I yip yap about it a lot on my page. My dad introduced me to Tolkien, and unfortunately, it'll be, oh God, I think 9 years that my dad passed away in April. That's a weird thing to think about. And yeah, I wasn't so Lord of the Rings was something that I always loved. I was never as obsessed with it as I am now. It was never such a hyperfixation until really after he died, because it was something that him and I could really bond over. Because not to get too personal here, when he was alive, him and I didn't have the best relationship. But when we did, when we would talk, it would always be about books and like Lord of the Rings, things we were still into. And one of the movies we would always sit down and rewatch together or read together would be Lord of the Rings. And so once he passed, I just kind of fully immersed myself in it, because I always felt that it was a way for me to get closer to him, uh, and really, I guess, spend time with him in the way that I couldn't while he was still here. And thankfully, I am so very lucky to have like a USB of him reading the books. So that way, when I do miss him, a little, I guess, extra, I can always just sit down and listen to those rather than physically reading the books. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of stories within Tolkien that really remind me of him, like the relationship between Denethor and Boromir and Faramir, because Denethor and Boromir really remind me of my dad and just their, not really their upbringing, but I guess their situations within the story, where people from the outside who don't really understand the full story could view them as bad people. But when you actually read it and understand, you understand why they are the way they are and how they came to that point. So,
I really love that you have those recordings. I think the recordings that I have are like really helpful in a lot of ways. So, you know, I have that connection to Tolkien and him reading it to you. I think that's just really lovely. Because it is something that you can always listen to. And
mhm.
that's great.
Yeah,
Special.
and it's so nice to have them, because now there's something that I can share with my boy, because my kid was only like 18 months old when he passed away. But when my dad was alive, they were like best friends. So now whenever I listen to them, he's always with me, so that way he knows who his Jaju is. But yeah.
That's awesome. You told me something, Kaya, when you messaged me. You told me that there was a part where Aragorn and Arwen are talking, and you said the quote, "In sorrow we must go, but not in despair." And I think it really ties into a lot of what all of us are feeling with, grief, and it's it's hard to move on as people, like, you'll get through it. You don't move on, you move with it, and if you could find the light and think positively, I think hope is the better choice than despair always.
Yeah, and whenever I do think of him, that quote does come to mind a lot because when I got the call that, like, my dad had passed, immediately in my head, I thought to absolutely shut down, bawl and everything. And then I just heard my dad's voice being like, "Don't cry over spilled milk." And I was like, you know what?
Mhm.
He would like la not laugh, but be like, "Why are you crying? Like you knew this was gonna happen."
Mhm.
Like, because my dad was old. He was 68 when he passed. And so just thinking about him and his reaction to us being sad about his passing is just like, yeah, you can be sad about it, but don't live in that despair of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how our the ones that have gone still leave a mark and still speak to us through certain things. The other day I was coming in, and it wasn't even a windy day, but for some reason I opened the door, and for some reason it slammed behind me. But right before it slammed, I went to grab it because I guess PTSD, childhood trauma. I hear my dad's voice saying, "Don't slam my fucking door, bitch." So immediately I went to grab it and it didn't work. But just before it slammed, the wind chime my cousin got for me, which has a whole dad inscription, blew vigorously and went, "Beep, beep, beep," and then it slammed. And I was like, "I hear you. I'm sorry. I get it." So they have those moments, where they speak to us, and I believe in that. So thank you for sharing your vulnerability. Oh my Lord. We're getting to the good stuff here. Andy. Hi,
Ugh,
my dear.
hi. I'm such a crybaby. You guys are making me cry.
Let it out. Let it out.
Let it out. That's what this is for.
Just
Some
ball, girl,
catharsis.
ball.
And I'm like, I don't know your dad's. But low key, I didn't know mine either. Okay, so I guess that's one way to
Great
segue.
segue.
Um, okay, so I feel like mine's a little weird. Um, because I feel like it's colored like my childhood and probably everything about me, but like my dad died 3 weeks after I was born, like exactly 20 days. Um, and it's why am I crying for real? Y'all like got me all worked up. Um, but it's one of those things where like I don't know, I feel like it's always been sad, right? Like not having your dad. And I remember like if I was extra mad at my mom, I'd be like, "Oh, I wish my dad was here." But it's also like I have no context for how that would have been different or anything. Um, but I just also think it it's so strange um to think about because growing up, everyone was immediately hit by how sad they were about my dad. Um, and but at the same time, I feel like I don't have a lot of stories about even what he was like. Um, I have gotten a lot of comments that we have like a similar sense of humor and stuff like that, but then I'm just kind of like, I don't have, I mean, like, I know some of his jokes, and weird stuff like that, but at the same time, we're like very different. Like, he was very sporty and active, and I was like, like, I would pretend to write cursive as a kid, and I was like, can I go read in my room? Like the kids at next door want me to go play, but can you just tell them I'm busy? you know? Um so there's weird things like that where people are constantly talking about my dad and like the past tense, but not just the past, but like up here, like pedestal, like everybody loved him. And I'm just kind of like, gee, it would be cool to know what that's like. Um when I was pregnant, I actually got a message from a cousin who never speaks to me, because again, he was from my dad's side. I always felt kind of like I never really fully understood my dad's side of the family. Um, like, it was never really clear, like, how to make them laugh or like what we can connect over. But anyway, he was like my oldest cousin, and they always lived in a different city, so I never really saw him. He randomly texted me when I'm pregnant with my child to say like he hopes that he like if he ever gets to be a dad that he can be as great a dad as my dad was. And I was like, for 20 days? I'm just kind of like, what are you even talking about? Because you have this really, I guess, beautiful memory of my dad. And it was just like such a bizarre, and then I tried to bring it to my mom and she was like, oh, that was sweet. And I was like, what is he even saying? But then I realized that my mom has no context for what it is like to go through the world not knowing my dad. So stuff like that just kind of, it's been weird, you know? So it's like, on one hand, my mom gave me, I think, the most beautiful childhood. But it's always been colored by stuff like that. So it's just, this is a therapy session. So it's, I don't know. It's always been like, I usually just talk about it with like dark humor, because I don't really know how to talk about it
Or
with
talk about how to
people.
process it.
Yeah, like
Whatever works. And those feelings of, dare I say, resentment to other people when they talk
yeah,
about those things, I think those are extremely normal feelings to have. It's extremely human to have. You're a Cancer, right, Andy? Like
yes,
me? Mm-hmm.
obviously.
Obviously. But no, but it's true. You could feel very robbed of how people speak to you about the person that's gone, because at the end of the day, their relationship is different than your relationship with them.
Yeah,
So it's easy to feel like that robbed child,
right.
because I feel like that all the time when people tell me memories. But I take them for what they are, and
Yeah.
those are their memories, not mine. So it's hard. It's hard, but I love you so much. Hey, hey, look to your left, right? Where's the baby?
He's up there.
Look that way.
Yeah,
That lifts you up, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
You're
He's
lucky you have
wonderful.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I love you, Auntie.
I love
What
you too.
lifts you up? What in
We all
Tolkien
love you.
lifts you up?
Oh, so many things. I feel like Tolkien is one of those things that by the time I had come around to it, I was like 10 or 11. So, I had like come to terms in some way, but like the way that it tackles love and friendship and hope has always really spoken a lot to me. Um, and when Gandalf's at the end of the book says, go in peace, I will not say, do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. And as a Cancer, felt that.
Mm.
Because I also, like, I'll cry when I'm happy, I'll cry when I'm sad, I'll cry when I'm angry. So, like, to have a lot of feelings, I always felt like seen by Gandalf, because it wasn't like a bad word to be the emotional wreck that I am. Um but I mean, I think that it has so much humor and lightness in it even when things are hard, and I think that that also isn't talked about enough. I mean, like, Frodo says to Sam that, like, nothing can dampen your spirits, and it's kind of true that, like, he will he is undeniably himself throughout the whole story, right? Even when he is um feeling lost, or Sam has always got his 2 cents, which I think is always so sweet. And I think that when all of the fellowship is together, I mean, maybe it is kind of a trauma bond, but like the way that they speak to each other is, it just feels like being wrapped in a warm hug with like old friends, even when they're ripping each other. And so yeah, so I think it's one of those books where you feel so much of life reflected back to you, and kind of amplified because you're in this like crazy situation, but there's so much real truth in it that it's definitely something that has comforted me, and I would even say like guided me as I've gotten older.
Thank you for your
Thank you for sharing.
vulnerability. Thanks for letting it out, and more importantly, thanks for letting us in.
Yeah.
Yes, you're always here to talk as well.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to
I
share.
I just want to, I feel like you're just as powerful as Aragorn is with the loss of his father. You know, his experiences, and I know this probably doesn't help you at all. But it just, I think, and like Tolkien kind of understood that kind of relationship as well. He lost his father before he could really have that relationship with him. And people talk about Tolkien's mother in so many ways of how
Yeah.
she deeply impacted him. But it's always that kind, there are a lot of characters that lose their fathers and
Oh yeah.
before their time. And I think you're just as powerful as Aragorn is in that in that strength of love that you still do have him in your heart, and that's why you get upset and all this kind of stuff. So it is just as powerful as that kind of relationship. Yeah.
What it
Thank
sort of
you.
reminded me of when you were talking is Elrond and Eärendil. And I know Eärendil didn't die, but Elrond, like, he left when Elrond was a baby and Elrond never saw him again. But
Yeah.
then he pretty much spends his whole life with his father being venerated, to the point that thousands and like 6,000 years later, Bilbo is writing poems about his dad and how amazing he is, that Elrond never knew, has no memory of. It just made me think of that, and like growing up with the people around you, knowing somebody and having this conception of them in your head, and maybe like even expecting you to feel that way as well,
Yeah.
because that's how they do, and they can't really conceive of the fact that you don't have that because you never got to know him. Um, just like it just yeah, it just made me think of Elrond and people, how he must kind of feel.
Yeah.
Constantly people talking about how great his dad is, to the point that they virtually worship him in the sky. And he never actually knew him. And again, what you were saying there, Dave, about fathers and that being reflected in Tolkien's quite a lot of characters as well. It's like, I guess, Tuor and Turin as well. Like again, their fathers are these great mannish heroes, and they have them there almost like as a legacy they have to live up to. But they never knew them as people. They never knew them as fathers. They just again know people talking about how great they were, and how that must have like an impact on you. Um, yeah, a lot of
Yeah. That's
parallel.
yeah. Just me and Tolkien, presidents of the Dead Dad Club.
You ain't alone. You ain't alone.
I know.
Peter, Mr. Belmont,
Can you hear me?
I could hear you.
Hmm.
Hi. First off, I love you guys. I love you, Andy. Um, I guess, wow. I'm gonna focus on two things. The first thing actually is a quote from of the beginning days in the Silmarillion, one that's overlooked in my opinion a lot, and it goes off like this. And the echo of that music runs through all the veins of the world. sorry, in sorrow and in joy. For it is joyful, joyful is the fountain that rises in the sun. Its springs are in the wells of sorrow, unfathomed at the foundations of the earth. And it is my favorite Silmarillion quote because I've dealt with a lot of grief in the last like decade where I lost my best friend just out of nowhere, died in his sleep. Practically grew up together, and then I lost my father to COVID, and I didn't even get to see him because he was in his state visiting my mom in Colorado. So I was pretty much just told on the phone. And I guess like one of the last things my dad and I did, and I'll start over with my friend who I'd known since I was a kid was actually the one who got me in Lord of the Rings. He's the one who gave me the Unfinished Tales actually to read. We saw all the movies together to the point where like we played hooky at school and we like went to his place and like cooked food and we accidentally set his like mom's tea koozie on fire. They were Irish. They're like born in Dublin. She was like so angry at us. But I think back to those memories and how much like we love Lord of the Rings to the point where like we would play games together or we would talk about it all the time. And you know, and also one of the last things I did with my dad was listen to the Lord of the Rings audiobook. He was like, he called me at 3 in the morning and was like, hey, it's the link to the next book. It's like 3 in the morning. He's like 67, 68. He probably should be in bed. He's like, no, I gotta finish this. I'm like, all right, Dad. But with Lord of the Rings in itself, not to sound, I don't know, typical, but Aragorn and Frodo always stand out to me because Aragorn's character in himself, it is a story of grief, how young he lost his father, and then he goes out finally to face his destiny, and his mother Gilraen even says, I'm not going to be here when you return," and it's like he has no family to witness the greatness or his trials or how he overcomes them, and it's a hard thing. And then with Frodo, I always think about myself more so as Samwise because I always consider myself a little more. I don't want to say plain, but I come from a working class family. My father was a concrete finisher and a foreman. My mom didn't really get into more white collar work until she was much older. And, I think about that a lot where my friend who I lost was definitely my Frodo, someone I always looked up to. I found him to be a wiser person than me by far. I was always temperamental and, I can be solemn at times too, just very emotional as a young guy and an adult, but whatever. And he was always very much a guiding light. And for a long time, when you lose people like that in your life, hi Bungo, um, you you feel lost. And I get that point that you're making, Ryan. You feel very lost. And Andy, like that idea you don't know. But like I was at a point in my life where I was like driving so hard on my career, driving so hard to be something myself. And like I had started a new career from cooking and I got into tech and all this stuff. And I started making good money, starting to be able to support my dad, and my friend. He wanted to move out. He was an actor. And I was like, we'll move in together. I'll back you up. We'll do everything. Just for it to just be plucked out, removed from your life so harshly that you feel this gaping hole in your heart that can never be filled, even with time and years. You just kind of learn to live with it. And that's the one thing people don't talk about with grief. Yes, you remember such joy with them, but the grief is always going to be there, just like the foundations of this very world are built on the sorrow. And that hole never, like, it never shrinks. I tell people that who go through grief, like, as well. They're like, does this ever get better? I'm like, no, it never will. And that's not a bad thing per se. And it goes back to Ryan talking about how fond the heart becomes when you love something so deeply that it's gone from your life. It goes for all of us in our loss, even if we didn't meet this individual. There's grief for that time. And I guess that's why I always come back to Lord of the Rings in itself. Because there is a quote from Aragorn when he's at the Paths of the Dead at Pelargir, and they've just, taken the ships, but they have to go to Harlan and all that. And he says, hope is born when all things are forlorn. When you're at your deepest and darkest points, you remember things that matter most to you with these people, and you try your best to live as they would have, or how they would have influenced you yourself. And, I can't go to the Grey Havens and sail over, or I can't speak to a wraith of my friend, or go to the very ends of this world and sing a song to ask for my loved ones to come back. But I'm lucky. I'm very lucky because both those people left something very concrete not only who I am today, but also that we all love Lord of the Rings. So I get to enjoy that a lot. And when I read these pages, I do think about them all the time. But, a part of me is always going to be with Frodo, like Sam feels, even though he comes back to live a whole life. He's incomplete, just as incomplete as Frodo with his injuries. But I don't know, it always stands out to me because I'm very lucky for one thing, too, that I have a recording. And funnily enough, it's between my friend and my father. And it's an interview my friend did of my father when he was in his graduate program in La Jolla. He was an actor, and he wanted to meet someone that impacted his life. And in it, he talks about my dad talks about his life. Brandon talks about himself, and you forget how much you matter to those people too. How much like our stark difference of background, how much I matter to that friend that he would come and ask my dad to do the speech over his own family because he loved my father so much. He looked at him as a second father, you know? And whenever I'm feeling like really low, because you lose your path. Like I'm not as I will be honest, I'm not as career driven anymore because I just don't want to live a life that's dedicated to just the sole purpose of making money. When I feel my lows and I listen to that, I truly feel a joy in my heart that not only these two people got to meet each other, but that they loved each other. My father cried harder than I did when Brandon passed away. And it sits in me always. He couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. None of us could have because I was Brandon. He was going to be the one doing all the cool stuff, being an actor, going through life, and I was always going to back him up. But now it's just a solo thing. And I've met people like you and friends, New Better, Ryan, Lee, Tim, Dave, Kaya, Andy. It was just like have made a path that would have been so rocky, so bumpy, such a smooth thing. And so, firstly, thank you for that. But yeah, grief is one of those things where it truly is mingled in the very foundations of this earth. And it brightens and lifts us up, regardless of how dark it was in its moment. Because with every storm, a light will gleam through, as we see in the books all the time. And we have to also have humility and understanding that, not everything is always going to be so dark in our path forward. Though we have to accept the chance, to lift ourselves up or be lifted up. But I'm done yet.
Thank you, Pete. Oh my gosh. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That how very special it is to have two of such big pillars in your life be connected in such a beautiful way, and you have that memory. It's really special. Oh, KBDB. Let's move on to you, my friend.
Righty. First and foremost, man, shout out to Belmont, man. Thanks for always being there for me, man, being my friend, man. And hopefully I can, in some small increment, in some kind of way, be there for you, and in your life, and fill any void that you got there, because you definitely do that for me, man. I can call you anytime, and what I'm saying, we just call each other and just be talking shit to each other, and that shit is so fun. And if I need any help, man, you always got my back, man. So I appreciate and love
I
you,
do
man.
got your back, nerd. Nerd.
Eat shit, nerd. So shout out to you, man, for that. For my thing, I decided to go in like a different direction. Like I feel like I could write a book on loss about all the people I've lost and situations I've had and this, that, and the third. And but one of the things that really grieves me and really hurts me is the loss of my home. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with gentrification, but where I live at, completely a black neighborhood, and very special and rare and different from everywhere around us. And we had this camaraderie and love and strength, bond, and it's like, yo, we from the bridge, like we from this place, and it's like it was so special, and it's snatched away from us, like people come and they buy up our homes and push us out and break up the community, and everybody is gone and separated and moved, and it's not at their own, it's not what they would have wanted and how they wanted. They want that community, that pride, that love, that family. And so the thing that reminds me of that from Tolkien, and that I connect with and always have loved so much, is I'll always, and I'll do this a million times, but the Misty Mountain poem. Because Thorin and the dwarves are singing about their loss of their home, and you can feel the pain in their, you can feel it when you're reading it, how much they miss their home and want it back, and they're longing for their home. And so I've always connected with that, and it's like it's also like help guide me to like create a way to come back and just celebrate it, even though we can't rebuy people's homes that have been taken away and people's grandmothers, and now they can't leave it to their kids, and you know what I mean, and everything like that. But that's something that's always resonated with me. And so when I think of it, you know what I'm saying. Um, Obviously, a dragon didn't take her home, but it feels like a dragon is taking her home. And even to the part where Erebor is not their ancestral home, and they have such a love for it, and they lost their ancestral home. So I think to when Gimli finally gets to see Khazad-dûm, and then he's talking to Celeborn, he's so sad, and he's like, "Damn, like I just wanted to see my home." I think back to that because where I'm from isn't my ancestral home. I was adopted and I got moved there, and then I had to find that again, and that's something I deal with. So when Andy was talking about, um, not really knowing her father and stuff like that. I had parents. I lost both of them, but I also had birth parents that I never met. My mother died before I could remember anything, and my birth father, I never met him. I never knew he looked like nothing. And then in my 30s, I was able to find my family on both sides, luckily through ancestry. And then to think I find him and he's dead, and I can't even ask him a question. I can't see what he looked like. I can't yell at him to tell him how angry I am because he could have kept me if he wanted to, and all that whole situation. And so I liken myself to that grief of Gimli and his feeling and stopping by the mirror and just paying homage to Durin. And I feel tied to Brooklyn and going to see my family there. And but that bothers me. That's something that bothers me every day that you never talk about. So when it really resonated with me when Andy was talking about that, even though, like I said, I had a father I grew up with and I loved very much, and nobody could ever replace him. But always having that in my mind that I have a birth father. What is he doing? Why? Why? What is going on? Why? You know what I mean? And then finding out, damn, he was alive to this point, and if I would have been faster or quicker, I could at least kind of got some information and talked to him and seen, hey, this is where you know, we come from, and this, that, and the third. And luckily, we found a quadrillion siblings, but it's one of those situations where many of my older siblings knew my father, and they talk about him, and they tell me stuff, and I'd be like, he ain't want me. He knew about me and just didn't do anything about it. So it's weird. But yeah, the loss of my home, going back to the original point, really grieves me. It's something that made me. If you guys want to ever know about me, where I'm from is very special to me. Um, it's an anomaly in itself. Very much how I feel like I'm an anomaly in the Lord of the Rings arena. Um, you know, because just because of how I am, where I'm from is very much an anomaly in our area. It's like not the norm, and and we've all been through hardships. Many of the people there also grew up very much like me and were adopted or in foster care, and we share that camaraderie. And so to lose the that in our home that we all have a connection to sucks. But the the love I get out of it is the coming back, the finding it again, the hey, we're going to go on this adventure to create this day or this special memorial of this place that we're never going to forget it, and it's going to live through us. And so I put together that every year, if you guys know, and I do my event, and everybody comes back, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. And when I tell you, the feeling is so freaking phenomenal and great. Um, it, it's like, okay, this is our community is through us. It doesn't have to be this hallowed ground because it's hallowed ground, but these people are the community, and they can never take that away from us. They can't take who we are. Um, they can't destroy that. You know what I'm saying? And we rep it so hard. And when we come back together, it's like the most magical day like ever. Like it means so much to me to do that, and to have the people. Means so much to them to have them. It means so much to them, and they're like, so I know this is a bit of departure from this person dying or that, but that really hurts me, man. I hate that. You know, it means a lot where I'm from, so that really grieves me.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Home isn't, a building, a place. It's where your love is. It's where the people who you love, the people who you experience things with. It's really inspirational that you shared that. I appreciate that, KB. I
I
really
think
do.
it resonates a lot with Lord of the Rings too. There's so
Hmm.
many times we see groups having not their ancestral home, but just their home in general is either razed or removed from them. And I think, I think it's important we speak about that because a lot of people don't know, I grew up in Denver and then I moved out to New York and I grew up in the Bronx. And I don't have that. My home's gone. It like does not exist anymore in Colorado where I once lived. And I think it's important we remember our roots, especially with the people who made those roots. You'd uproot the tree, but you'd have to take an axe to those roots themselves.
Absolutely.
Lee, hello, my love. How are you feeling?
I'm, I'm yeah. All right. It's just there's a lot of emotion going on
Mm.
here.
Mhm, mhm. Let us in. What are you feeling? What are you feeling right now?
Don't let me be the only one that bursts into tears.
Yeah, seriously, come on.
I've come close a couple of
Share the
times.
load.
Um, my grief thing that I was going to talk about again is a bit different again. It's not like about a person. It's a grief for a life that I have always felt that was stolen from me because so some people know this, some people don't, but I have like illnesses and they started like really affecting my life when I was about 9 or 10 years old. By the time I was 12, I wasn't well enough to go to school anymore. Um, and it just stayed like that. I tried to go to what we call college, but it's like would be the last 2 years of high school in America. I tried to do that. I went for one term, and I never like recovered from that. And so I never had like a teenage experience. I was pretty much all my teenage years were in isolation. It was hard. It was being ill, and being alone. And I had there were a lot of expectations on me, because I was the gifted child sort of thing. And like people were always talking about how I was going to go to Oxford and how I was going to do this and that. And then just normal things like settle down, maybe have children, have a job, have a life. And it just got taken from me. And so there is always a part of me that I try not to think about what could have been because that way lies madness. But like it's always there in some respect, like the grief for that life that I might have had if I didn't have faulty genetics. Um, and yeah, there's always like that shadow of it hanging over me. Um, and for a long, long time, life was very, very lonely and scary. And it coincided with me getting into Tolkien, funnily enough. And I think as a teenager, I spent more time living in Middle Earth than I did in the real world. Because in Middle Earth, I was freer there than I was in my life where I just felt trapped. So I could barely leave the house. Um, and yeah, so I spent so much time like living in Tolkien that those characters became friends to me almost. And even now, if I'm like struggling with something, whatever, or just feeling a bit down, I like just like picking up Lord of the Rings and reading a random bit and it feels like having a warm hug from a friend. It's that feeling. Especially the first bit where Bilbo's birthday, where it's all just cheerful and the hobbits are being silly and like they're going into the party, getting a present, sneaking back round so they can have another present and things like that. And that bit, it's just so warm and cozy and it feels like coming home. So I find a lot of comfort in that because that's what was there for me when I was so alone.
I think you're really strongly, and I think your strength lies in your journey and what you've been through. And I really respect you so much. You have this relationship with grief that not everyone relates to, and it's so unique. And I just think you're amazing, and you're beautiful, and you're strong, and you're so intelligent. And I think you put your mind to whatever you want. I say it doesn't matter what's going on, you could do it.
Absolutely. And you're the bravest of many people. Like to do what you do and to move the way you do is extraordinary. Because it's one thing moving around in your own country, but you be moving around in another country, and I don't even want to call. I don't even want to say you're handicapped because it's not a handicap for you. Like you be moving, like you be moving, and it is admirable, and um, it's it's dope to see. You're super smart. Don't ever feel like wasted. Like oh I could have did this, and no, what like coming from somebody who is people say, "Oh, you're so smart" all the time. You make me get up and look and say, "What the hell?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's phenomenal. Like, taking nothing from anybody else, but when I hear you speak about Tolkien, I immediately like I was like, "Yo, this is crazy. This is like, yo, the depth of knowledge, the passion and the even just the viewpoints. Like, it's something that is very intriguing and alarming, not in a bad way, but it's like, yo, it makes you second guess yourself. And that's really like light bulbish. Like it's like, yo, have I been looking at this wrong? Because this lady knows what she's talking about and she talks about it passionately. So like just give yourself the utmost respect and credit because you are stronger than you could ever know. So in those moments of self-doubt, just remember you're the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you're the shit for real. Cause I'll be looking at you like, yo, she riding around the land by herself. She don't care about none of it. Like, yo, people won't walk by themselves, walk in somewhere. Like, and you just be moving. And it's
Yeah,
it's
so,
it's
so
dope.
sometimes I was a bit stupid with some of the things I did. Like
Nah, but
I walked
it's
through a
you be
strange
you be
city
you be
at
getting
11
it,
o'clock
man.
at night by myself.
You be getting
Who
it, man. I'm
hasn't?
not, you know, that you be getting it. So just keep that in mind. Just make sure you show yourself the proper respect and love and admiration.
Lee, when we spoke, you sent me a poem. Do you have
Hmm.
that? Do you want to read it?
Yes, I'd love to read it. I got it ready just in case. So,
Perfect.
um, this is a poem that has resonated with me because it's one about like not not giving up, and even though you're faced with what might seem insurmountable odds, like there's always something there that's worth fighting for. So this is um this is one that Sam sings when he's lost Frodo in Mordor, and it's in western lands beneath the sun, the flowers may rise in spring, the trees may bud, the waters run, the merry finches sing. Or there may be 'tis cloudless night, and swaying branches bear the elven stars as jewels white amid their branching hair. Though here at journey's end I lie, in darkness buried deep, beyond all towers strong and high, beyond all mountains steep, above all shadows rides the sun, and stars forever dwell. I will not say the day is done, nor bid the stars farewell. And that last bit particularly, because for a long time I did feel like that this was going to be my life. This was all I was ever going to be able to do. And then I somehow managed to get pushed way out of my comfort zone when I came to New York to meet you guys. Um, and that was terrifying. And my family were telling me not to go because, it's like you can't go to New York by yourself. It's scary. But I was like, I didn't want to give up on my life. I had this opportunity to do something, and like my life is limited, and as time goes on, my ability to do anything is going to get less and less. Like my health is going to decline with time. So it's like I am not giving up on this. I will not say the day is done, nor bid the stars farewell. I'm going to enjoy this as much as I can and make the most of it while I can.
I love that.
And so
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
Well, we love you, Lee. We love you so much.
I love you guys.
Mr. Tim, my friend, the Bard.
Oh Lord, I've been anxiously awaiting this. The emotions of the past hour have just been so high, and when I tell my bit, you'll see why it's having such an impact on me, especially coming from all of you. Um, so when Ryan had first brought this up to me, he had pitched this to me and Callie as something that he wanted to do for himself, and I very much agreed that it would be good for a lot of us. There are a lot of us in this fandom, specifically in our group here at the Voices of Arda and in our different communities that have had so much loss. And it's something I felt like I definitely wanted to be a part of. I normally don't do these live stream things. I have a lot going on. But there was no way I was going to miss this one. And my favorite quote from Lord of the Rings, if you've asked me for years and years, always been this one that I was going to use. I'll read it real quick. It's from when Mary wakes up in the Houses of Healing. Um, he says, "Good, then I would like supper first, and after that a pipe. No, not a pipe. I don't think I will smoke again." "And why not?" says Pippin. "Well, he is dead," meaning Theoden. "It has brought it all back to me. He said he was sorry. He never had a chance of talking herb lore with me. Almost the last thing he ever said. I shan't ever be able to smoke again without thinking of him, and that day, Pippin, when he rode up to Isengard and was so polite." And to that, Aragorn responds, "Smoke then, and think of him." Um, I've experienced a lot of loss in my life, and that line has always resonated with me in more recent years as don't be afraid to do the things that remind you of the people that you've lost. For me, it's different songs and music. My father was a singer, and we bonded so much on music. Whether it was Lord of the Rings, not so much my father, though he was very encouraging, although I was a very strange child when it came to this stuff. Um, but my friends, my best friend Will, he was my Frodo, like Pete had said before. It's the same dynamic. I mean, the guy even looked like Elijah Wood's Frodo, to the point where people would say, "Oh, you look like Frodo." Um, he was my best friend, thick as thieves. We were Lord of the Rings guys together. He was the only person I had to talk about these things. And our other friends, they knew what we were doing and would play along, but they weren't like us, like all of us here. Will was. Um, a big part of my story is the opioid epidemic. Um, my father and basically every childhood friend I ever had passed away of a drug overdose. Um, and I almost did too. Um, so there's been a lot of loss in my life. My father passed away. I was newly sober, and he died right before I was a year clean. And my best friend Will was the only person who could come to that funeral and pull me out of that room. He said, "You have to go. Like you are strong enough to get through this." And he pulled me away. And 3 years later, he died of the same thing. Um, so when I was talking to Ryan yesterday about this live stream, he was telling me about all the thoughts he was feeling and what everyone was going to talk about. And he said, "Frodo really got me through a lot of this, Tim." And my mind went to a different quote from Lord of the Rings as Frodo's about to leave Middle Earth and go west. Um, He says, "Your time may come. Do not be too sad, Sam. You cannot always be torn in two. You will have to be one and whole for many years. You have so much to enjoy and to be and to do." And I feel like Frodo's wisdom there is so important, and it is so true in my lives and so many other people's. Um, like I said, I lost basically everyone to the point where in 2020, me and my now wife were discussing potentially getting married. And I thought, I have no one to invite to the wedding other than my family. There are no friends that are left. I had two that were still out there doing their thing, getting in trouble. So when I met this community through doing TikTok, um, and bonding through Lord of the Rings, like I was like, oh, this is great, and blah blah blah. And specifically Andy was here. She was part of the conversation. Pete was also there. When I had two of my last living friends die within 2 days of each other, and all I had was you guys. I mean, everyone else was gone. And Willie had said it earlier when his mother had passed away, having everybody was so important. And that has expanded so much from that moment of grief and having my Tolkien friends to back me up to the point where I got married 2 months ago, and a lot of you were there, or at the bachelor party, or sending gifts, or when we met in New York City. I have friends today, specifically because of Tolkien. I have so much to have and to do and to see. My Frodo may be gone, but life is still to live. And a few years ago, when I thought it was not going to be possible that my life was going to be me and my small family, and I wouldn't have any more friends. Tolkien literally gave me the only friends I have left in this world, and it's a beautiful thing. And to be able to be a part of your lives has been so incredible. I don't feel lonely ever. I got sick a few years ago. I had kidney stones. I was in the hospital. Mr. Peter here was sitting there texting me the entire time. You know, it's just like incredible things like that. And to have these moments where it's like I was so overwhelmed listening and just trying not to cry the entire time you were all talking because I am so grateful for all of you, and to just see your pain so visible and to hear your stories. And it's like, wow, you guys kind of saved my life. So this is very important for me to hear. And I'm incredibly grateful for all of you. And like Andy had said before, I will not say do not weep, for all tears are not an evil. And I'm so blessed to be here with all of you today and get to share in our experiences like that.
God damn it, Tim. I didn't
Oof.
cry at all this whole time. All
Oof.
right, I was like, oh, I didn't cry. Why you get to do that this time? You say the big guns to the end, don't you,
Mm,
Ryan?
yep. My
Can
secret
I just
weapon.
I just want to put a shout out for Tim. Like you have no idea how much Tim does for everyone between
Mhm.
Voice of Arda and getting this whole community thing set up. This is all Tim's idea. I mean, I know we had the podcast and everything. Tim was the one who was like, yo, we should get everyone together. We should get everyone doing Voices of Arda, get everyone sharing each other's content, doing these lives. We wouldn't even be here talking like this if it wasn't for someone like Tim. And Tim is, you know, you all, I love you all, but Tim and I are a little closer. We talk a lot. Hopefully, now that Dave's here, he'll want to come and hang out with Willie, Tim, and I and stuff. But and like Ryan as well, we're all in the same area, and I wish we all were in the same area. Is my point I'm trying to make.
Mhm.
I wish we all could experience that a little more because I
Yeah,
really do
goddamn
love you
ocean.
guys. I know, right? Goddamn Atlantic. But I love you guys, and you guys do so much for not just us here, but this community. And you don't even realize it. There are people out here who reach out to me and be like, I love the fact that you and Tim, part of Arda, do this 20 questions. Or, man, like, I wouldn't have known about you, Belmont, if it wasn't for Kayak. And, like, or like, yo, who, like, even what's crazy to me, I'll have someone comment on, like, Instagram and be like, yo, who's do better, do better? And I'm like, how do you not do better than this? But I'm like, that's like the best content creator. Well, he's because he posts mostly on TikTok. He doesn't do Instagram very much. So, like, I'll be like, that's like one of the greatest lore masters here. It's been awesome. And thank you so much for sharing all that, Tim. Because I feel it a lot too. I think we all do, all lost this aspect of loneliness in a world so populated. with so much going on all the time, you could feel even more lonely.
I'm so grateful that you are here, Tim.
Yeah.
And here, I'm happy that you are here and I'm happy that you made it. And I know that this is a lifelong battle, but I know you can do it because you got us on your side always through everything. And I can't imagine what this fandom would be like without the Bard of Arda. And I can't imagine what all of our lives would be like without our friend. So I so appreciate you having you here and closing out the way you did, man.
Now you make me cry.
Oh, you are the man, Tim. You are such a kind soul. Truly, love you
Thank
so
you.
much. I love
Definitely.
you all, guys. Damn.
Yeah, man. Definitely, Tim. I just want to say thank you, man. When to get the invite for your wedding, man. Well, I tell you, I couldn't make your bachelor party, but there was no way I wasn't making your wedding, bro. Like you do so much. We love you so much. We all admire you so much for your not only your knowledge, but your kindness, man. Your heart is huge, bro. Your heart is huge. All you guys' hearts are huge. Um, but man, just the conversations and it's not like it doesn't got to be so deep sometimes, like it's just like yo just laughing at stupid shit
Oh
or
yeah.
you know what I mean, like you know what I mean, even when me and you when I got to Belmont's wedding a couple weeks ago, I went and saw Tim first, and it just made me feel not that I was anxious about Belmont's wedding. Of course, I'm going to go see Belmont wedding, but he just like lightened the load of having to do so much, and just was like, "Yo, man, dude, yeah, come hang out with me." And we just was talking and laughing, and he's like, "Yo, wear this." He gave me a vest out of nowhere. I was like, "Yo, wear this." Like, I was like, "Okay, all right," you know what I'm saying, and it's just so dope, man. And so like if I try to say as much as possible to all of you guys, man. You know what I'm saying? Like Dave, me and you don't talk as much, but hopefully we can get to change that. But like somebody like Lee, and I don't say this enough, but it bothers me when Lee's not around. It
Dude, he
bothers me.
asks about you all the time
I'm
online.
literally
It's
like,
like,
"Where's
where's
Lee?"
Lee?
And
Where's
I
Lee?
know I have to just like let her live her life, but it also is like, well, where's my Lee at? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. I guess I gotta let her just do what she's doing, but whatever. Um, it's funny. With Kaya, like we don't call each other and have great personal conversations and everything, but she's always there. Like I've been um traveling and doing stuff, and Kaya's been there, and I say it as a joke, but it's so comforting, and she just keeps it so real. It reminds me of the girls of where I'm from, and so like even when I'm like I want to be away sometimes about certain things, and I can't be. I always say I can't be that way no more. But Kaya's like, nah, I can be that way. You know what I mean? And I love not, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that about you, and I appreciate that about you because I know you're like, yo, I'm not taking that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could, but I just can't afford to really act like, how I really want to be sometimes. And you try to grow up and whatever. And not that you're not, but you just keep it so real that I have so much respect and love for that. And you're so kind all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Can I call something out here?
You know what I
Like
mean?
Kaya is so quiet in person. Like
Nah, but
she's
see
just
that
like
she ain't though. Yeah,
she
but she ain't.
ain't
She's like,
like
nah, F
she
that
ain't, but
shit.
like she's very quiet in person until you get her going, and then
Get her
it's
going. Yeah,
like
she's
Yeah.
the shits, man. You know what I'm saying? Ryan, like the work Ryan puts in is incredible. Um, like he goes the extra mile, and I appreciate him jumping on my project and developing himself in the project. Where like he could have just been like, "Oh yeah, I made this here," and mail it in and leave it alone, and be like, "I did that," and always adding something new, implementing ideas, and just being awesome. That's literally just awesomeness, and I'm just like, man, that's dope, man. You know what I'm saying? That's just fire, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have I have a bit of a leverage with Belmont. Like that is my guy, as we all probably have. Like Belmont's my guy, man. Like I love you so much. Like when I say you're my real friends, like you're my real friends. Like even my friends in real life, like I'm not that this is not real life, but you know what I mean. Like they like, yo, oh yeah, your friends. You're going to a wedding. Like those are your peoples. Like these are your peoples. You know what I'm saying? And black people be jealous of other people's friends. They be jealous. They be like, yo, how you know that motherfucker? Like, you know what I'm saying? Nah, that ain't your man's. Nah, but they know, those are Willie's friends. These is in real life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I really F with y'all, man. Like, so much.
And I don't know
man.
what you two did, but like Tim and Willie, my family and friends all loved you. Like they were like, "Yo, those are your Tolkien friends." My God, they're so cool. It's like, yeah,
Bro, we
yeah,
all had the
absolutely.
best night. Like us sitting at the table, you put
That was
us with
real.
like your cousins and stuff, and then your brother and your sisters. Bro, we had a it
Man,
was
it
a
was lit. It was
it
dope.
was a
And they
way.
tried getting me. Like my brother was doing his best man speech, and I know Tim helped him with the question. He told me later, and they almost got me with some trivia because like I'm all in my emotions. I'm like scatterbrained at a wedding. They're like, "Yeah, what two flowers on Carrot Amber?" I was like, "What? There's one flower." They're like, "No, there's two," and I'm like,
And you got the
You
one
got
I
it
didn't
though.
get, and I got the one you didn't get at first.
"But I did.
You
I
got
got
both
it
of
in
them.
the
You got
end."
both of them. Well, I was like, how do you not know that one? That's the one you should know.
The day before the wedding, your brother texts me and goes, "We're not going to make him look like foolish up there, right?" I was like, "No, I think he'll get it."
Yeah, but if you're curious what the answer is, Nifredil and Eleanor.
You
I
should
love
post.
your brother so freaking much, bro. Your brother's so awesome, bro.
Dude, he loves it. Like you two love each other.
Dude, it's fucking hilarious, man. Anyway,
But
the
point.
point of it is that I love all of you guys, and you know what I mean, like for real, like y'all special, man, and I appreciate you. You know what I mean, you guys helping me through my grief, and you don't know how much it really mean, like bro, like you know what I'm saying, like the difficulties of like just going through that, and then just you guys just caring for really caring, like really checking and really caring and contributing and help like situation and that and it sucks trying to figure that out. Like it's the worst time to try to figure that type of shit out. It's like during it. It's like what? And it's like you guys are amazing and I appreciate and love you guys. Always like that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a needy friend and you guys are always there for me, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm being honest, man. You know what I'm saying? I be going through it, but that's you know what I'm saying. You guys don't never make me feel away and you guys always like look out and I appreciate that, man, so much. You know what I'm saying?
You
Thank you.
know something? I talked about how there's always that grief of the life I might have had. There's times nowadays where I'm just doing amazing stuff and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want that other life because this one that I've built now is actually pretty cool. I mean, like the
It is
being
pretty
ill
cool.
sucks, but the like the meeting you guys and stuff, which probably wouldn't have happened if like all the illness and everything hadn't happened. So it's like, no, you know what? I actually built something out of this debris that was my life, and pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy you're in our lives,
Yeah.
Lee. And
Amen.
who else would we
Amen.
make fun of about eating beans and stuff? You know.
I don't know. And
Yeah.
fucking beans and toast. Fuck out of here, bro. Yo, I just randomly send Lee a thing like a little
Yeah,
somebody
beans.
somebody talking shit about beans and toast. I'm like, yeah, I gotta send this to Lee. You know what I'm saying? Lee, I'm gonna hit you up more because I have missed you. I know you've had stuff going on, so I've been just like trying to let you live. But I miss you very much.
I
I miss
miss
our
you guys.
conversations. I miss our arguments. You know what I'm
I'm gonna come
saying?
over there to England soon,
Do
because
it. Do
Lee
there's
be
it.
something
popping
called
out.
this.
When I come to England, Lee be popping out.
I know, and like
Which
the
is always fucking
society,
fun. We always have a good time together.
society's doing stuff like in the next couple years. I want to come through and stay, so I need a friend there. Like obviously, first person I'm calling up is Lee.
Mm.
Like,
Well,
not this bum Willie. I don't know that guy.
I'm going to New Hampshire, trying to do meetup. So I'm going to New Hampshire to record some episodes. Belmont's coming with me. I would love if Tim and Ryan's. I think you're going to come if you can. We'll see. Fingers crossed. But this is going to be in January. So if anybody would like to participate, if they can get up to New Hampshire, if you can even get to New York, and I'll drive you because that's what I'm gonna do. Which is not that bad. You're welcome to come, Dave. You know what I'm saying? Are you Dave 1 or Dave 2? What are we doing?
What are we? Are we deciding? I want to know
there's
the truth.
Dave
Dave and then
versus
David.
Dave and
David,
David.
David.
Which one are we
David.
choosing? You can't be both. There can't be a David and a Dave. There has to be Davids or Daves. All
So
right.
for those that don't know, we have another edition of Voices of Arda, and that is David the Noldo. I'm sure many of you know him.
Boo.
So congrats, shout out to Dave. So yeah, you got to duke it out. Who's going to be the Dave and who's going to be the David?
Thank you,
figure
Ryan,
that
so much
out.
for putting this together, man. This is really.
Of course, of course.
Hey,
Listen,
Can we just get a
I'm
shout out to the Daves real quick for joining Voice of Arda?
Shout out
Just like a
to
round
the
of
Daves,
applause.
man.
Like I'm so excited to
Yay!
have him here.
awesome
I
additions.
love the
Awesome
Daves.
additions.
Shout out to Cali Cosplay. We
Amen.
all love you, and we all
Mhm.
appreciate everything you do.
And we realized
Love you,
today how
Callie.
much you really do for us.
She's probably laughing so hard. Yeah, so on this note, this loving, thankful note, Thanksgiving here in America is right around the corner, but for everyone else around the world, Thanksgiving should be every day. And I'm very thankful for you guys as friends. So I'll leave you with this and we could end on this note. To all my friends, I trust that you know that I can't carry your grief for you, but I can carry you, and I'm always here in your corner. To our viewers, where there is love, it is never truly dark. How can it not grow in a home like yours? That is Elrond in the Rings of Power. So you haters, eat that.
Eat it.
Thank you guys for joining us at Voices of Arda, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.